All right, buckle up, everybody. We're going deep today, a deep dive into chosen one dreams. Are these dreams really different? We're going to be looking at some articles, some research, exploring all that. I got to say, my first reaction, I was a little skeptical, a little out there for me. But, the more I read, especially these four dream types they talk about, it's pretty intriguing.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, the whole like chosen one thing,
Yeah.
it does have that new agey kind of vibe. But I think,
Yeah.
we can all agree on one thing. We all have those recurring dream themes, right? And I think,
Mhm.
the psychology behind that is really fascinating. So
Yeah.
open mind, but also healthy skepticism.
Yeah, I like that. So let's jump into the first one. The first dream type, that is, flying dreams. Now, the source claims that these studies, they symbolize a yearning for freedom, transcendence, especially when we're stressed.
Yeah, and that makes sense, right? I mean,
Hmm.
who hasn't had a stressful day? I wish they could just fly away from it all. I think
Yeah.
these flying dreams, they symbolize a desire for control, when we feel powerless or
Right.
need to rise above a challenge, right?
I see what you mean, yeah. So it's not just escaping, it's about perspective. And they go on to say, if you're feeling trapped, let's say, in your career, having these flying dreams, it might be a sign to look at what changes you can make to gain that autonomy.
Hmm. I like that. So it's not just wishful thinking. It's more like a little subconscious nudge, right,
Yeah.
to examine those areas where you might be craving a little more freedom.
That's interesting. Now, one thing they really emphasize is the feeling of surrender in flying dreams, letting go, trusting the process. Have you ever felt that in a flying dream?
Oh, absolutely. I think that ties in with taking a leap of faith
Good.
in real life,
Yeah.
pushing off from the edge of the cliff, trusting you'll soar.
Yeah, powerful imagery. But do you think every flying dream means we should make some big change? Or could it just be our brains like processing stress?
That's a great question. I think it's probably a little bit of both.
Hmm.
Dreams, they often reflect our anxieties, desires. So it could be just a way for your mind to cope.
Mm.
But I do think it's worth asking yourself, what is this dream trying to tell me? What do I really want?
That's a good point. So maybe they're not always literal, but they can give us clues about what we're yearning for. All right, let's move on to the next dream type. This one is about encountering these luminous beings, spiritual guides. The source paints this picture of meeting angels, masters, offering wisdom.
It is interesting, though. So many people report these dreams, right? Wise figures offering advice, guidance. Like, our brains are wired for a mentorship even when we're asleep.
Yeah,
But let's face it, not everyone's into that whole spiritual being thing.
right.
So how can we interpret these dreams, even if we're not, super spiritual?
I know what you mean. I gotta admit, when I first read this, I was like, okay, a little woo-woo for me. But then I thought about it. All the times I've dreamt of just like this comforting presence, this wise voice. Maybe it's not about literal beings. Maybe it's a representation of our own intuition.
Right, exactly. It doesn't matter how you see them. External beings
I hear.
or your
Yeah.
subconscious, the message is still the same. You have inner guidance.
Okay, so it's less about mystical beings and
Mhm.
more about our own strength and wisdom. But here's another interesting thing they say. These dreams, they often encourage us to seek out quiet time, to connect with that inner wisdom, like through meditation and stuff. Now, I'm not a big meditator or anything, but I can see the value in just taking time for reflection.
Absolutely. We're constantly bombarded with information,
Mm.
easy to lose touch with that inner voice.
Mm.
So maybe these dreams, however you see them, they're just a reminder to slow down, tune in.
I love that. It's like our dreams are saying, hey, you have the answers, but you got to take the time to hear them. I'm curious, what about you? Have you ever had a dream of a guide or mentor? Did it change how you made any decisions?
I have. I wouldn't say it led to any like drastic changes or anything, but it did encourage me to trust my gut a little more, be more open to those intuitive insights.
So your dream, it was validating that intuition. Okay, so we've got flying dreams, we've got dreams of spiritual guides. This next one is a little more controversial. Prophetic visions. The source presents these as genuine glimpses into the future, sometimes warnings, sometimes calls to action. What do you think?
Okay, let's be real. The whole precognitive dream thing, a bit of a minefield. Not a lot of hard evidence for that.
Right. Doesn't
But
mean they're meaningless.
okay, so if they're not literal predictions, what are they?
Well, think about it. Our dreams, they're a reflection of our subconscious, our thoughts, fears, desires. So maybe a prophetic dream is a way for your mind to process anxiety about the future. or explore different outcomes, different possibilities.
So it's not seeing a fixed future,
Mm.
but more about revealing these potential paths or consequences depending on our choices.
Exactly. It's like your dream is saying, hey, if you keep going down this road, this could happen. Or if you make a different choice, this other thing might unfold.
Yeah.
That makes a lot more sense because I've had dreams that felt so real, eerily predictive even. And then nothing happened.
Right.
So maybe it's our subconscious trying to work through those anxieties.
That running simulations,
Yeah, like simulations. And the source even says, approach these dreams with a healthy dose of skepticism. Relate them back to your life. Don't just blindly accept them.
Which makes sense, right? Even if we don't have, these magical powers to see the future,
Yeah.
our dreams can still tell us something.
Yeah, about our anxiety.
Highlight things we need to pay attention to.
Okay, so maybe not the future, but a powerful tool for self-reflection. All right, this last dream type. It's about visiting these sacred places, temples. The source says this symbolizes a connection to the divine, our spiritual heritage, even prompting us to seek out these places in our waking lives. But what if you're not religious? How do you relate to that?
I think sacred doesn't have to be religious, right?
Yeah.
Think about the places in your life that evoke a sense of awe, wonder, connection, a beautiful landscape, a historical site, even a cozy corner in your home
Yeah,
where you feel at peace.
That's a really good point because I'm not religious, but I have these dreams, vivid dreams of these ancient temples. And I wake up feeling so peaceful, connected to something bigger.
Yeah,
Maybe it's not about religion, it's about that human need for meaning, transcendence.
I think that's it. And the source is right. We should seek out those spaces, even if they're not traditional places of worship.
I see what you mean.
Creating a peaceful environment, it can do wonders for you.
So true. It's about those places that nourish your soul, make you feel grounded. What about you? What places feel sacred to you?
For me, libraries. Surrounded by books, knowledge, stories, it just makes me feel connected to something bigger.
That's beautiful. Sacred spaces and unexpected places. It's
Yeah.
about cultivating that sense of awe, recognizing those moments of magic, even in everyday life. But you know what? Before we get too carried away, I think it's time for a little break. When we come back, we'll go even deeper into these chosen one dreams, see what other insights we can uncover.
Yeah, it's like those dreams are saying, hey, create your own little sanctuary,
Mhm.
even if it's just a corner of your room, for meditation, journaling, whatever works.
I love that idea. A little temple for self-care. But okay, back to these chosen one dreams. Do you really think there's something unique about them? Or are they just like amplified versions of the common themes we all dream about?
That's the question, isn't it? It's
Right.
easy to dismiss the whole chosen one thing, like it's a bit self-important. But what I find interesting is the intensity, the frequency of these dreams. For certain people, it's like they're being called to pay attention.
You mean, it's not that these dream types are exclusive, but some people are just more tuned in to those messages.
Right, exactly. Like they have a stronger signal, more sensitive to these themes. And maybe that sensitivity, it spills over into their waking life too.
Okay, so it's not about being literally chosen, but about being receptive to those messages.
Yeah, integrating them into your journey.
It takes the pressure off, you know? Like you have to live up to some destiny. It's more about the personal meaning.
Owning your own path.
Right.
Finding the meaning in those ordinary dreams.
So let's go back to flying dreams for a second. The source connects them to spiritual evolution. Have you come across that term?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's basically the idea that we're always growing, evolving on a soul level, and our dreams can help with that.
So our dreams are showing us our potential.
Encouraging us to reach higher.
Like those moments when you're soaring in the dream, maybe that's your soul's yearning for growth. But they also talk about surrender. What do they mean by that?
In spiritual terms, it usually means letting go of control, trusting in something bigger, the flow of life.
So in a flying dream, it would be like releasing that fear of the unknown, having faith that you'll be supported, even when taking risks.
Yeah, like letting go, being carried by the wind, trusting you'll land safely.
And that applies to so much in life, right?
Learning to trust the process, even when it's tough.
All right, let's talk about those dreams of spiritual guides. The source says they offer protection, wisdom, but some people might not buy that.
I understand that. Not everyone believes in angels and all that.
Right, but we can all relate to...
Needing guidance, especially when things are hard.
So maybe those figures?
Even if they're not literal beings, they represent parts of ourselves we need to develop. Our intuition, our strength, our wisdom.
It's like a reminder that we already have those resources.
Tap into them.
Cultivate those qualities. Okay, so even if you're not spiritual, these dreams can still be insightful.
Find the symbolism, the personal meaning.
Now, what about those prophetic dreams? The source says they're not just random, they're a way to access higher knowledge, understand the interconnectedness of everything.
Accessing higher knowledge through dreams. It's a cool idea,
Mm.
but a little skepticism is always good.
Right. So maybe instead of predictions, it's about exploring potential outcomes, gaining insights.
Our dreams, they often show us our anxieties, our desires. So a prophetic dream could be your mind processing those emotions, exploring different possibilities.
Like those simulations we talked about.
Exactly, and sometimes they feel so real, so vivid,
That's why they can be unsettling.
or inspiring, depending on the dream.
So even if we don't see the future literally, these dreams can still tell us what to pay attention to,
Use the symbolism. Make better decisions.
navigate those challenges,
And the source is right. You have to be discerning.
relate those visions back to your life.
Don't take them too literally.
Sometimes a dream is just a dream.
Just your brain processing things.
But even then, paying attention can help us understand ourselves better.
Absolutely. It's all about self-awareness,
Mm.
using those dreams to grow.
Okay, we've covered a lot. Flying, guides, prophetic visions. Let's go back to those sacred spaces, those temples. The source connects them to spiritual heritage.
A longing for the divine.
Mm. But remember,
Sacred doesn't have to be religious.
right, it's about those places that make you feel awe, wonder.
Regardless of your beliefs, think about the places in your life that give you that feeling.
A breathtaking landscape.
A historical site,
Maybe a concert hall.
or just a cozy corner in your home.
Where you feel at peace. I'm not religious, but I have these dreams. Ancient temples, so vivid. I wake up feeling so peaceful, like I'm connected to something bigger.
That's that universal human need for meaning, for transcendence.
We all want to connect with something beyond ourselves.
Whether it's God, the universe, whatever you call it,
And the source says, create those sacred spaces in your own home.
even if they're not churches or temples.
I love that.
It's about creating an environment that nourishes your soul.
A little temple for self-care, even if we don't believe in those places, literally.
We can all benefit from having those spaces.
Those inspiring spaces, those grounding spaces.
That bring you peace.
And I think that's the core message here. It's not about being chosen in some exclusive way. It's about these universal desires.
Freedom, guidance, meaning, connection.
We all have that potential.
For growth, wisdom, connection to something bigger.
We're all on our own journeys.
Finding meaning in those ordinary dreams.
And you know what? That's a perfect place to stop for today. But before we wrap up this whole deep dive, we'll explore some practical ways to pay more attention to your dreams. Unlock that wisdom. Stay tuned.
Okay, so we're back, ready to wrap up this chosen one dream deep dive. We've talked about flying, meeting guides, those prophetic visions, even visiting sacred places, all pretty fascinating stuff. But now let's get practical. What can our listeners do if they want to start paying more attention to their own dreams, unlock that wisdom?
Well, the first thing is, we gotta stop dismissing dreams as just random nonsense. They're a direct line to our subconscious, a gold mine of insights. So no more hitting snooze on those dream messages. But how do you actually remember them? I mean, I wake up sometimes and it's like, poof, gone.
Oh, I know, right? Dreams are fleeting. That's why you need a dream journal. Notebook and pen by the bed. Soon as you wake up, jot down everything you remember, even if it's just bits and pieces.
So we're like dream detectives now, gathering clues. And the source says to make it a habit. The more you engage with your dreams, the more vivid and memorable they become.
Like you're building a bridge between your waking and dreaming self.
I like that.
It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
So dream journal, check. Any other tips for remembering those dreams?
Oh yeah, setting an intention before you sleep, just like you might set an intention for your day. Do the same for your dream state. Tell yourself, tonight, I will remember my dreams. Visualize waking up and remembering everything clearly.
Okay, might sound a little woo-woo, but I'm willing to try. Intention setting, check. What else?
Remember those sacred spaces we talked about? Create that kind of peaceful environment in your bedroom. Calming colors, soft textures, maybe a diffuser.
Ooh, setting the stage for sweet dreams. And speaking of sweet dreams, the source talks about our waking state too. They say being mindful during the day can make our dreams more vivid.
Yeah, it makes sense. If you're rushing through life on autopilot, your dreams are going to reflect that chaos.
But if we slow down, pay attention,
Cultivate that sense of presence.
it shows up in our dreams too.
Mindfulness, it's like the bridge.
Between waking and dreaming.
The more mindful you are, the more insightful your dreams become.
So it all connects. Which brings us back to the big question, are chosen one dreams really special?
Or are they just,
Hmm.
amplified versions of what we all dream about?
We've looked at these four types: flying, guides, prophetic visions, sacred spaces, and yeah, the chosen one label. Maybe it's a bit much, but they do tap into these universal desires.
For freedom, for guidance,
Hmm.
meaning,
I
connection.
don't want that.
It's not about being special or unique.
It's about recognizing the power of these themes in our own lives.
Exactly.
And that's what I hope our listeners take away, this sense of empowerment, this curiosity about their own dreams.
Whether you believe the mystical stuff or not,
Dreams are a window into
a
ourselves,
source of wisdom, guidance.
and it's available to everyone.
Hmm.
Beautifully said. So, to all our dream explorers out there, grab that notebook, set those intentions, dive into that amazing world of your subconscious. You might be surprised by what you find.
Sweet dreams, everybody.
And as always, thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. We'll catch you next time for another adventure.